Good afternoon, everyone. We'll start welcoming you here to our session today at Gov School. We're going to be talking about the art of a good cover letter. Those of you live on YouTube, we'll be able to respond to questions there. You can join us in our Zoom if you have the link still, and I'll try to help you with that. It would help me today if you do have any issues with audio or video, just let me know. You can unmute yourself and give me a heads up, and that will certainly help us all out if there's an issue. I don't get to the chat as much as I should. We'll start here in 2 minutes after. Those who brought their note takers with them today, they just know that I generally don't let those in that could cause some conflict. And so we do like to make sure that everybody is able to enjoy the session. It is recorded, and the information will be available at our YouTube channel immediately after. Get started here in just a minute. Just checking our sound quality just real quick. We had a problem yesterday. Okay, good. I'm getting a confirmation. Everything sounds okay. Good. Someone's asking about the link to the YouTube channel. It's at youtube.com/gov directions. I believe you can also just do @gov directions in the YouTube search and it'll pop up. Make sure you subscribe. That certainly helps us out and helps us reach more people. Appreciate that. There is no cost to subscribe, of course. So here we are, and it's a couple minutes after, and I'd like to give everybody just a few minutes to get in here. But this is considered one of our fast-paced sessions where we like to give you 20 minutes of knowledge, and then you can move along for the day. And this is a follow-up to our conversation yesterday. And yesterday we talked about using tools to help really identify the RFP and where they're located. I'm sorry, I didn't have my video on. Say hello to everybody. And making sure that you're not wasting time on actually finding the RFP. That's really a big part of the first steps. And of course, as we went through that, I used a slideshow, and I have access to that. I'm going to continue to let folks in here. Here, and we have a little fun. We use the theme of taming and dragging, and just as a reminder, we told you not to be scared off. And one thing that can really scare folks off is a blank sheet of paper, and I have learned that over time. You just can't be afraid of a blank sheet of paper. And if you ever just want to write yourself, just start typing the way you're thinking, and then you can come back and edit it a little bit later. That's a trick that I've always used for myself as I start writing things and preparing documents and so forth. You'd be surprised at how it just comes natural to you after you get a few words on the page. But a blank piece of paper can be very, very concerning. In fact, that's one of the reasons why you find these tools like here, you'll see all these things that pop up like meeting notes and templates and everything on this Google Doc, but because people really need some assistance in getting those first few words out. And so it's important that you don't be scared. That's a problem. Okay. Staying scared. So you got to get in there and just do it. And of course, we did yesterday. We really walked through an RFP and we found an RFP and we decided we wanted to respond to it. This is something I was interested in. And I like to use, real life examples, the experiential learning in the process. And we quickly walked through and talked about the various types of contracting instruments that are actually out there. And so you can work with them in different ways. But one of my favorites, of course, is the request for proposal. And the reason why is because, that is really a true solicitation. Government's asking you to respond, and because they're looking to acquire something valuable to them. And so when you do that, it's important. One of the most important first steps and the first thing that the government actually sees is when they open up your package is that cover letter. And so you really have got to stand out with the cover letter. And a lot of times individuals actually skip over that part. I'm a big believer, even when the RFP itself doesn't ask for a cover letter, I always give a cover letter. It's a business proposal. And consequently, we should practice traditional business practices. And that is always a professional cover letter that's on your letterhead that helps with your branding, that is introduces what you're actually seeking to accomplish with that individual. As a part of that, we talked about various parts of an RFP yesterday. And one of those specifically is the evaluation criteria. Now we have the others, the scope of work or statement of work. And I reminded you as you're looking at RFPs, and if you need to make sure it kicks in there, is that you're the one that I wanted to find. And if it doesn't, then probably best just to move on. It's important that you kind of recognize that fact. Okay. And so it's just let me just check in here, make sure everybody's in the room. Okay, looks good. Yeah. But if it doesn't, then look for others. There's over 55,000 active RFPs a day, 5,000 new ones a day, really 2 to 3 a minute are flowing through. It's an active field of close to $7 trillion marketplace this coming year. It's not slowing down. Despite what you might be thinking, it's an active marketplace. So you have to look for opportunity, but watch for these specific parts here help you determine what that is. But making sure you got those indicators of success. Look back to the YouTube channel yesterday to understand what that means, to really determine that this is the right RFP for you. And the reason why I keep bringing that up, because those items, that statement of work, the indicators of success, the matching that you did should come out. It should make it easy actually to write that cover letter and respond in an appropriate way. Okay. And it's going to help you in the process of selling yourself to the organization. And frankly, that's what you're doing with the entire response, is selling your company. There's a favorite quote I use frequently from General Haig, Alexander Haig, who was the Secretary of Defense for President Reagan. And he basically, I paraphrase, he basically said, you've got to sell yourself. You got to sell your capabilities. If you expect somebody else to do it, they're not going to do you justice. And that's an important, in fact, I believe something similar to the vice president when she was running for office. She constantly said used that sort of quote that I think she heard from her father. And I think we all, or maybe mother, I forget now, but I think we all have heard that sort of saying in the past, but you've got to sell your company. And the cover letter is the first place that you do that. And so just remember, it's first you find the bid that you have. You got a strong interest. You're the one that I wanted to find. And then go in there and really really develop the analysis that you have to do, the indicators, moving forward to actually drafting the cover letter. And I believe really, truly that the only source of knowledge is experience. So we're going to step in here. And just as a quick reminder, when you come to RFP delivery and you actually log in, I'm logging into a demonstration account. We give you various tools that you can use over time. One of those, of course, is our GovDirections YouTube channel, where you can find this video. But we like to help you with the learning process. And you'll see there's documents and places there to really help you understand. We also have an advanced service where we help you move forward and develop and organize your responses. We call it My Drive. If you're not familiar with this, you can give us a call in the office and somebody can assist you with that. But as a part of that, we have this one particular folder here called Get Started. And I've got here an area called Gov Advice Templates. And these are templates that we routinely build for you over time, and we share them with you to help you. One of those, of course, is that best prompts. A lot of us, when we're using technology to help us in the process of drafting and perfecting our language skills and writing skills, we want to make sure we're using the right prompts. Okay. And so we've built some that are kind of common for you. In fact, as we talked yesterday, we really took you to our new chat RFP writer in GPT-5, which is the newest technology, and it continues to grow. I think some 40 additional individuals just signed up with it yesterday. But you go in there; it's freely available as long as you are using the GPT, and it actually gives you some prompts to actually start with. Okay. Now, yesterday we went in and I've got here, let's see here, my evaluation scoring system that I showed you. And we went through and actually evaluated a compensation and classification study for Haymarket, Virginia. Okay. And the project's due in September 18th. It's something that really fit. You remember I went back and I took my time, but let's go back in here. I took my indicators of success and which are listed here. It had to be in the southeast, and I told you I wanted to be close to a fishing stream, maybe. We at no more than 250 employees. I don't have that in there, by the way, but I do. And Virginia's a great place. I can guarantee you we can find some good fly fishing streams in Virginia. No more than 250 employees. Got to have a budget, a good size. These are my indicators. And your indicators, as you recall, we want to make sure they're personal to you, they are rewarding to you as well, and that it's good business for you to pursue. But most importantly, I really stress this, is they should be personal, and so you can help yourself accomplish personal goals. And as a part of that, you have to define what they are and then potentially go in and weight them. In this easy scoring system I did here, I scored them all equally so that, if it's in the South, it gets it's equal value to whether or not if it's got a finance department. Probably not a wise thing to do. You want to really evaluate the indicators that really mean the most to you to move forward. But I just did this easy sort of simple method. Got 10 indicators. I think 10 sort of a minimum. It gives you a good round, and out at that point you're getting some very statistically valid numbers, and so you get 5 or more, you get to that point. But 10 is a good one. I frankly have about 20 that I actually use, and I used to do this a long time before it just something simple as chat could use this and analyze this for us. I used to do it where it was just by hand, and I would then eventually we got to Excel, and now we're just way beyond that. And so it would help me really think what I'm seeking within an actual RFP. And so as that is pulling out specific information, it gives me a match score. And you remember I told you that this is the one I wanted to find, and so it really weighted up there. It really one that I should pursue. And so I asked for an executive profile. What are they actually looking for? And as a part of that, they told me the deliverables and so forth. And then I asked for some assistance in actually analyzing it so you can give me a roadmap to success. Okay, so today what I want to do is step back just quickly and ask again on this particular RFP, what is the specific evaluation criteria that the agency is looking for? Okay. And this is important because, at the end of the day, this is basically the only thing that a government can actually evaluate you on. They have to tell you what they're going to do. Now, there is certainly evaluation criteria for this RFP. I can't do more than one thing at a time, so I have to slow down just for that. Okay, and I'm going to ask that question and then let chat do its thing. But just as I was saying that, they really do have to tell you how they're going to evaluate that, because they're going to compare you against others. So that's the fair way to do it. Now, at the end of the day, there's been a lot of studies done on decision making. One of them, as specifically found, is that there's social and emotional factors that go into play. And you just have to understand that sometimes that's why you think everything's going to be logical, it just isn't. And there's nothing you can really do about that, but you've made your best effort. Okay. So that's what you need to be most concerned about. So here in this particular evaluation criteria, now you're going to want to know specifically what the government is asking for in each RFP that you look for. Once you get past the scope of work and you get past all their deliverables and so forth, you want to step back and say, how are they evaluating? What's the emphasis? In this case here, understanding the project's 25 points, experience and qualification is 25 points, and methodology is 20 points. References is 10 points, and then cost proposal is 20 points. So you look at that, everybody's, a lot of times we come in and think, gosh, I've got to give them the lowest price. Well, 80% of this scoring method is not price. Okay. In fact, 45% is just experience and knowledge. Okay. And then in this case here, if you really kind of step out the methodology, which is essentially the way you work, those 3 things there, what is that, 50, 70 points. That's 70% of the evaluation. So you need to spend time on that part of this proposal response to really get the attention of the organization to win this RFP. Now I can come in at 70 points. I'm going to get most of these when I bid. So I don't have to, and I'm going to have some good references. Like, I've worked on about 400 projects in 34 states. I tell that all the time, but it's a lot of work that I've built up over history. Now, you as an individual, if you're brand new, just know that 10 points is not really that big of a cut or hit. But if you don't have any reference or strong references just yet, that's not, you still got a shot at getting something like this. But in my case here, I can go in there, I'm going to get those 10 points. I'm going to get most of these others, I don't have to worry so much about getting all 20 points on cost. So I would then weigh my evaluation criteria in such a way that I would potentially be a higher bidder than somebody else who maybe doesn't have all that experience. Okay. So you kind of know that going into it. Now, so here's my possible score. So what I would like to do at this point, I take the chat that let's go in here. I think I've got somebody else coming in the room. So you can let folks in the room. And just as you coming into the room, they know that this is recorded and you can go back and check it a little bit later. But this is a fast paced session. So we're going to do it in about 20, 25 minutes. Okay. So in this case here, we've got to the point, we've got the RFP loaded. We've gone through our indicators of success. We measured the possibility. We got a good high rating of 90, probably a little bit higher if you really evaluated it by the true weight. So it gave me the you're the one I wanted to find method because I like to have fun while I score. And so this is the one I'm going after. So I need to tell chat to write a strong, let's go in, let's write a strong cover letter that emphasizes my historical success as well as how I best match of all their responses, the evaluation criteria. Okay, I'm going to give us some instructions because when you taming the dragon, you really need to step in there and give them give them specific requirements. Okay, and as I think I showed you yesterday, I always said, do not confuse this RFP with any other RFP, and also do not make things up. Okay, I usually say, do not embellish, do not make things up. Okay, it must be 100% accurate. Okay. Just kind of you might be Pinocchio here. You don't want to have that happen. Okay. So we go in there. Okay. And as we get in here, so I'll get in here and get my cover letter. Now it's not going to potentially do certain things. Like in this case here, it didn't pick up the individual who was actually going to be receiving it. So I want to make sure I change some of this. And I'm never going to just take exactly what is pushed out and use that only. I'm going to modify it. Okay. And just know that going into it, that this is basically your draft. Okay. Consider it that way. Drop it in. Now, whenever I come in with my cover letter, I'm going to bring it over. Okay. Here we go. And then I'm actually going to go ahead and just strip out. Okay, I'll make sure it's normal text. It actually does this for me now automatically. I like to do Arial 12-point font. You don't want any fancy font. So you either do Arial or Times New Roman. And the main reason why is certain people have or first of all, governments typically work with antiquated type systems. And if they open up your document and you got some fancy font on there that they don't have, it potentially can cause some problems. And you got a lot of special characters in there you don't want. Okay, so don't do that. Don't play that game. Now, in this case here, what I would want to do is insert my logo. Okay, put my logo here as a strong reinforcement of. Let's just see here. I think I've got it in my drive. I've got a lot of logos in here. There we go. Okay, got my logo on there. Always date it, current date. Okay, the date that the actual RP is due. Okay, just so you know. Okay, so you want to make sure it's dated for the date. Okay, and put in there. Okay, and then you want to have the name of the town manager, not just the town manager's position title. Okay? And of course, you want to have it, dear Mr. Mrs. Okay, appropriate titles as you go into it. Now, in this case here, one thing I always do, because this is a dead giveaway that this letter was written by Chad, I may not want them to know that exactly. Take this part out. Okay, it's always a proposal submission. It constantly, I don't care what version you use, it throws it out there. And I also like to go ahead and just strip out the bold. Chat likes to come in and bold everything. Now, whenever you go back and if you want to add something bold, then add that later and make sure it's what you want to emphasize, not necessarily what your chat product wants to. Or like we like to call our chatter, he likes to call himself Eagle Eye. So he sort of has developed that nickname. Now, as you go in here, you want to basically first always start off with and it's done very good job at this, highlighting who you are and what you're responding to in really 3 sentences at tops. maybe four. Okay, one paragraph, and that just say what you're going to do. I'm here to submit this response. Now, here's why I'm doing this. I've got 25 years of experience. I've worked in some 34 states. Our firm has the technical expertise to make this happen. Okay, and always call attention to the actual RFP number. A lot of times, I actually will come back and throw in the actual terminology. Okay, and reminding them what they're doing. Okay, next, um, enforce really why you're at the table and what you understand about the project. And it does this for me already. And so it brings in, once again, each of my paragraphs should be accurate, brief, and clear. ABCs, accuracy, brevity, clarity. And so three sentences, four sentences, maybe five sentences max. Okay. And so, and I'm a big believer in not using words unnecessarily. So be straightforward and using superlatives of some sort and say very much. There's no such thing as very, very, very. Just don't worry about that. Okay. Go in and be clear in your language. Okay. As you step into it, talk about the methodology. You remember the steps. And what Chad has done for me is paid attention to what that evaluation criteria was. Remember, it was, let's go back, the actual evaluation criteria, understanding the project, we state what we understand. Okay, go here. We understand. Okay, go back in potentially. Next section area was I'm losing my windows up. Experience and qualifications and project methodology. Okay, that were the big three areas. So we talk about our proven methodology, and this is where you do want to use in strong words like proven. I've done this. For example, I'll do a series just on the two most powerful words you can ever use in any kind of proposal response is, for example. You've done it before. Okay. Emphasize that. Proven is a really strong word. I'm glad it pulled that in there. Okay. And then also other parts of it, reinforcing what you understand. Okay. Because understanding was a big part. That was the number one item that they want. So I've used that word now twice in my cover letter. That's a powerful word. And so we go on down, and then after we get past the first, second, in this case here, we got two paragraphs because they basically had two primary areas where they were really emphasizing knowledge. Okay. And then we step into the the fourth paragraph. And here we reinforce the items that they've told us that they're looking for, and then say on each of those areas how we meet their objectives. Okay. And so that's important that you do a powerful way to draw in the evaluation criteria and say, listen, we're paying attention to your RFP. You've told us what you want. We're the perfect fit. And so, and then with a very strong closing, as well as a method to get in touch with you. And so sometimes you'll put your number here, or the more traditional way is if you have questions, contact me by this email or the phone number. Okay. And I always like to go in and just, dress it up a little bit. Come in, insert horizontal line at the bottom, and then go in and type at the bottom, potentially response, and maybe my RFP number. Okay. And then put my page number here. Okay. Options, page numbers. I usually, on this particular case, I do show it on the first page. Okay. They're not necessarily in a document response. Okay. And then I'm going to usually I pull this to the right hand side and leave it there. So it's page number. Okay. And that way it's actually you know what? It's a long day today. In fact, what we really want to do in your cover letter, I was like, why did I just do that? You really want to come in here and put your address here. Okay. And so your address was at the top earlier. And I don't like to put my address at the top. It's just it kind of distracts from the fact that you really are want to get the attention of the person who's going to be making the decision. And so you really want to take that information, which it actually included here, and put this at the bottom. Okay. And take that and then pull it in, and at the very bottom in the center. Okay. I'm sorry that I forgot that as I was going on. I was thinking I was actually writing the RFP at this point. Okay. But leave it there at the bottom and then go to the next. And then on the top of the next page, come in and actually put another horizontal line. And of course, it's always important to practice traditional business writing and put at the very top the person's name, Mr., Mrs., Okay. Uh, and then page. And so that reinforce who you're actually sending to. This is where you want to put your page number at. Okay. This is the way, I was like watching a show today that's talking about what's the most valuable class you ever took. And so in high school, one time I took a class from Miss Jones, and she taught us how to actually write a letter. And a lot of us forget some of these basic requirements when we do that, and you don't want to have that happen. Okay. And then so you have your page number on here. And that way, if there is a separation of document nowadays, there's not so much of a separation, but just in case there is, then you have that. Okay. So here is a very powerful cover letter that would get the attention of whoever reads it. It's 2 pages, and I try not to go beyond 2 pages. And probably a little bit if you're doing a film form or business proposal, you want at least 2 pages, not just one, because you're too short if you only do one, unless they specifically tell you that they want something shorter. Okay. And the other thing is keep it in a very readable format in that, Arial 12-point font. Okay. Don't go in there with a 9-point or 8-point font in order to get everything in 2 pages. Don't do that. That's a bad strategy. Okay. You want to make sure you come in here, give them easy to read. So I thank you for, taking time and watching this video live on YouTube. I'm going to actually stop that. And in the classroom today, I'm going to see if there's any questions. Now, I would like to, if you're on YouTube, watch us, go down there and point down there and hit subscribe and a like button.